If you are watching this, that means there is a February Nintendo Direct coming very, very soon, and it means I will have been incredibly wrong in predicting that last year's June Direct would be the last Switch 1 based Direct. Now, this is a shocking occurrence to me if this happens, and I actually do have to upload this video, because I truly can't think of a ton of stuff that Nintendo first-party wise would want to announce to fill up an entire Direct. It makes sense to think that they would want to get all of their last third-party announcements out there, and maybe a few shadow drops or very tiny projects for first-party games, but even then, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD just released in January, and in March we're going to get Xenoblade Chronicles X, all before the April Nintendo Switch 2 big blowout direct for information on that console. So I can't imagine they have hardly much, if anything, to share with us about first-party stuff for the Switch 2 or the Switch 1, unless they decide that they want to shadow drop some sort of remake, remaster, or just some sort of niche game that they don't mind not giving a full marketing cycle, and sometimes that shadow drop hype can really help, whereas a marketing campaign for a game that no one is really interested in will help as much, because people will buy shadow dropped games all the time, even if they're not entirely interested, just because the fan base gets you really excited that day, like, oh, go buy it right now, go buy it, and then people will do that. Now, this will be the very, very, very last Nintendo Switch-based Direct, and we have had so many great ones, and I cannot wait to go back and probably rank all of them. That sounds like a very fun project, but this one will be the last one, and I can't imagine that they would want to go out with anything other than a boom, and yet I can't imagine that they would also have big first-party games to show. So we are going to start off with my very first prediction here, and after all the leakers said all this, it's going to make it seem less cool than I predicted at first, but back in my video talking about 3DS games that I thought could be ported over to the Switch, one of the ones I said was definitely coming was Kirby Planet Robobot, and now Nate the Hate, he actually came out and said that that was going to happen anyways and that he leaked it, blah, blah, blah. But hey, I said it before any of that ever came out, and no one else predicted it, and they had already done a bunch of Kirby stuff, and people were thinking, oh, no more Kirby. But I knew they were going to do it because this game is phenomenal. So I think the very first thing that they show off is going to be a new remake of Kirby Planet Robobot for the Nintendo Switch, and that feels like a February shadow drop type game, because they have shadow dropped plenty of Kirby games in the past. Particularly, I think of Kirby's Big Buffet or whatever that game was. It was just like a $20 cheap eShop game. This one will probably be a little bit more exclusive, a little bit more pricey, perhaps. I would anticipate it to be about $50, $60, unfortunately, because that's just how they roll, but I really do think that seems like a good idea for them to just announce and drop. People love Planet Robobot. It's one of everybody's favorite Kirby games for people in the series, and I think it's a good introduction to just a different type of Kirby game for people who maybe really got into the series with Forgotten Land and want to know what the history is all about or what the 2D games had to offer. And this is me kind of rehashing what I said in that 3DS video, but I loved watching commercials of Planet Robobot growing up. I saw so many commercials about that game, and I never got it. I just never got around to buying it or having my parents buy it for me, and I just remember thinking it looked so cool. So I cannot wait to pick this game up if and when it drops. My next predictions, and man, you guys are just, you know, this has been something everyone has talked about forever and ever and ever, and I still believe it's true. I believe these games are coming, and I will not stop until they do come. I am predicting the Wind Waker Twilight Princess Remake bundle coming this year. Now, I don't know if it will be a February shadow drop release. It feels like something they could shadow drop, but it also feels like something they might say, hey, this is coming out in April, right? Because the Switch 2 presentation will be in April, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to fill up some of these months with games before the Switch 2 launches. Because obviously they're not going to say on April 2nd, oh, the Switch 2 launches in 2 weeks, right? It's going to be at least late May, probably June. I would put my money on June. So I think Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, and you know, there were rumors going around that Wind Waker might release on its own without Twilight Princess, so maybe just one of these games on their own, not a bundle. I don't know what's going on with that, but I still believe in the people who leaked it a long time ago. All those rumors, I believe in those. I think they're coming, and that Nintendo just saved it for more sparse months just like these, and these games are still going to sell well. I mean, it is a Zelda game on the Nintendo Switch. It's going to sell well, especially considering the time frame up to the Switch 2 is just the perfect time for them to drop it and for them to say, hey, you know, right after the Switch 2 Direct, they'll probably be able to show off some games that are upcoming or some of these other games that came out this year and say like, yo, buy the Switch 2, it'll be upscaled, and you'll be able to play these old games in HD, and it's going to look beautiful on the Switch 2, up-resed, all that stuff. So I do think that Zelda is possible for this year with Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Other than those games, I can't imagine that they have any other Zelda-type game up their sleeve this year, because Echoes of Wisdom was last year, they had Tears of the Kingdom a few years prior to that, and I think they're kind of running out of remakes here with HD-type games, unless they go back to the old games like the NES game, which would be really cool. At this point, we are running out of 3D Zelda games that you can turn into an HD re-release. Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time are the only two left, and those were already ported to the 3DS. They kind of remade that, the assets of that were remade, but obviously they could do that again and put it into HD, just taking from the 3DS version, but I think a lot of people would find it even better if it was like some sort of remake, like the Metroid Prime remaster, rather than some sort of simple upscaling of sorts, which I would also be fine with that, because the 3D Mario All-Stars kind of got away with doing that. It got a lot of crap for a lot of different reasons, but it did fine enough, and I would just be happy to have those games on the console outside of just Switch Online. So yes, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, I am just gonna keep going and saying that they will come eventually, and I think I might have said it for my last June Direct predictions, but this one, you know what, this one for sure. And before we move on to the very next prediction, make sure you like and subscribe today's video if you enjoyed the content, click the notification bell to know exactly when my videos drop, and join my membership program for a few bucks a month to get early access to all my videos. Back to the video. Now, I know that this next prediction here has been rumored a little bit over the years, but I don't know if it's any sort of hot new rumor or if there are updates to it, but I do think it's a good idea and is something that can still stay within the realm of new first-party games before Switch 2 without being big first-party games before Switch 2. So I think it is very possible that we get a brand new Fire Emblem remake. Specifically, I think Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. This game came out on the SNES back in 1996, I believe, and it would be really cool to get a new Fire Emblem remake. The last Fire Emblem game we had was Fire Emblem Engage back in January of 2023, so it has been a bit over 2 years now, and it seems plausible to me that they would have a remake that they had been cooking on while we wait for the next mainline installment on the Switch 2. Particularly, I think this is one that will bring people back to the roots of the series, show people a lot of the original characters, get people invested in the story. Fire Emblem Three Houses really brought a lot of new eyes to the fandom, and honestly, Engage didn't do a good job of upholding that standard in my opinion. Three Houses was my very first game in the series, and I adored it for its story and characters and just very deep plot lines. Engage was kind of the opposite of that for me, and for a lot of people, the gameplay was superb. It was one of the best in the series, but the characters and storyline was just super iffy, so I hope that they can bring this back to show us what the series is all about, and then on Switch 2, they can go more in the Three Houses direction story-wise, and then the Fire Emblem Engage art style graphically wise. I don't really care even if it just continues to look like that anime cel-shaded style. I'm not a huge fan of that, it's fine, but I would prefer them to try to go a little bit more gritty in that direction. But I know this is Fire Emblem, it's never really been that, it's fine. But I just hope that it looks better than Three Houses did, because holy moly, that game looked really bad at times. I also think it's pretty much a guarantee, if this Direct does come to be, that Metroid Prime 4 will get some sort of update and a release date. Technically, we have only seen this game one time, not counting 2017, the first reveal of the logo, back in June of 2024, was our first look at this game, and they showed off a lot of it. It looked really great, the gameplay was cooking, they said 2025 was the year it's coming, and now that I've sat here and thought about it a little bit more, let's think about this. June was when they revealed like the first look of the gameplay, and they said, hey, this is what it looks like, they have the story down, it looks like it's almost done. Then they said 2025 was the year it's coming. Okay, cool. Then we get a reveal for the Switch 2 in early January. They say there's an April 2nd presentation that's going to blow out all of the information, we're going to know when the console comes, etc. But if Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a standalone Switch 1 release, that means it would have to come before the Switch 2 comes out, and preferably a month or two ahead of that time, because they don't want the Switch 2 to overtake the idea of Prime 4. Prime 4 has been in development for so long, and it truly, if it's not the best-selling game of the series, there is going to be big problems for the Metroid fanbase and for the Metroid series at large. So really, they're going to have to put it out within the next few months. If the Switch 2 does indeed launch in June, like I think it probably will, then this game could very well come out in May or April, which means that they would need to tell us right now, this February, when it is coming, give it some hype time, give it that marketing cycle that it needs, and give us a big hook, give us an update, give us something more about the game that we have yet to find out. Now, I also wouldn't be very surprised if they don't do this, if they hold off and say, you know what, we're not going to tell them more about it, we're going to wait till the Switch 2 presentation and say, hey, this game is also coming out on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, it's backwards compatible, so feel free to buy it now if you want, or buy it on the Switch 2 to get that up-res, because the game looks gorgeous already from the trailer that we saw, and I'm confident that gameplay was Switch 1 hardware, they weren't running that on the Switch 2, so the Switch 2 I think could only make it look even better, and I think they're trying to really push this idea of backwards compatibility because they don't want people to be afraid to buy their new games, and if that's the mindset they're going with, then I don't think they're gonna mind putting out new releases days, weeks, months before the Switch 2 launches, unlike some other companies. But for the sake of predictions and for having the glory of getting it all right, I think I'm gonna try to say Metroid Prime 4 will be at this Direct, we will get an update and a release date, and they probably will not address the idea of the Switch 2 yet. They may go over that at the presentation, but I don't think we'll hear any Switch 2 stuff at this Direct. Another prediction I have is not something that is going to be there, but something that will not be there. Pokemon Legends ZA. This is pretty obvious, I think, but I just want to put it out there. There will be no mention of this game at this Direct. Pokemon will have its own presents in February. The Pokemon Presents, whatever they do, it will be all sorts of different games. They're going to talk about Arceus, they're going to talk about app games and sleep stuff and weird Pokemon stuff that nobody really uses, but somehow they keep pouring money into instead of just giving their developers time to make good games. That is a sore subject for me, but Pokemon will not be at this Nintendo Direct, but I would almost guarantee you that there will be another type of Pokemon Presents in that month. Now, in my most recent video talking about all sorts of different kinds of Nintendo news, and we discussed the idea of there being a February Direct, Brazil PH was one of the leakers who said that there was going to be a February Direct, and it was confused. People watched his podcast and thought that he meant there was going to be a new game from a niche and beloved series, but then he came out and said that that wasn't necessarily the case, that just there was going to be a first-party representation game there. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a niche game like he said, but the idea of there being some old franchise that they bring back to life has got my head kind of spinning here a little, got my wheels turning, and I have an idea. So for my next prediction, I'm going to say that Nintendo does either a new game, or most likely what will happen is a remake of Golden Sun in the HD 2D style, and I think that would look phenomenal. I really think that would look amazing. Early on in the Switch's lifespan, everyone was talking about all of these crazy ideas that they had for niche franchises that have never come back, like let's do a new Star Fox and a new Golden Sun and Earthbound, it's gonna get released in Mother 3 and Rhythm Heaven and all these games. But since then, that talk has really kind of calmed down since we haven't gotten a whole lot of anything, and I haven't heard the idea of Golden Sun coming back in a very, very long time. But I do think in this type of style, in this day and age, all the HD 2D games that have really taken off, with Octopath Traveler really being the first game to start that trend, I think Nintendo could get a good chunk of change and build up some hype for the franchise, get their feet wet on the idea of making perhaps a new type of Golden Sun game or a brand new original RPG from Nintendo. That would be cool, a brand new series in that HD 2D style, because there were actually supposed to be the new Mario and Luigi Brothership game was supposed to be HD 2D, but it just got shot down. So I think developers at Nintendo have been wanting to do this for a while, and this would be a phenomenal chance for them to do that, and would be just the type of left field announcement that doesn't take away too much hype from the Switch 2, but also gives Switch 1 owners a lot of different games to play to tide them over, and gives people like me who have never had a chance to play a Golden Sun game in their life to actually try out the series in a new, gorgeous art style. So I really hope that that comes true, and I would absolutely give myself about 30 million pats on the back for predicting that, because I have not seen even a hint of an idea of Golden Sun before. I just kind of looked up niche Nintendo franchises and found that and was like, you know what, that would be a phenomenal idea, especially with the Dragon Quest game that they just released. Nintendo knows more than ever that these types of RPGs do extremely well, especially considering Japan loves them so freaking much. So Golden Sun HD2D, you heard it first here. Do not let anyone tell you that they predicted it, because they did not. I did. I really hope this comes true, even though the chance of it happening is probably like 0.001. That it's a very, very small chance of this coming true, but it would be a very cool announcement. So, if you enjoyed today's video and all of my predictions, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on each and every one of them. What predictions do you have? Is there a game that you thought would absolutely be coming that I totally missed? Or is this video even public? Are you even listening to this? I don't know. Maybe the Direct never even happened, and this will just go in the archives. So, thank you so much for watching. Once again, click the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell if you want to help support my channel and know exactly when I upload my videos. Like I said earlier, join my membership program for just a few bucks a month, so that way you can get early access to all my videos and help support me as a content creator. Click the left video if you want to watch what my predictions were for that June presentation. I got a lot of those right after all, and I am excited for that. I did get one pretty wrong though. And click the right playlist if you want to see all my videos talking about Nintendo presentations in general. My name is Ray, this has been Ray's Nintendo Talk, and I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day.